Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Others can join in as they can. Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for everybody for attending webinar today. Hope we're all still staying safe and healthy and sane out there. Just want to welcome and thank you for attending Cloudpoint Geographics webinar on raising the roof on facility mapping with ArcGIS Indoors. My name is Bill Steele. I handle the business development and marketing for Cloudpoint, and presenting today is Jonathan Hodel, founder of Cloudpoint and one of our professional engineers. Just a quick update on some of our upcoming webinars. Of course, you can find all those listed at cloudpointgeo.com/webinars. A couple weeks, we've got GIS for cemeteries. That's June 23rd, 11 to 11:30. Day after that, we've got an introduction to Parcel Fabric in ArcGIS Pro. Matthew Junker, one of our engineers here, very adept at Parcel Fabric. He'll be going through that. Then in July, Sign-Ops, which is our sign inventory management system, Sign-Ops and how GIS helps that, will be July 9th, 9 to 9:30. And then creating and designing survey forms with Survey 123 Connect. That will be towards the end of July, July 21st. Of course, in Zoom, we will be doing questions and answers. So any questions that might come up during the presentation, click that little Q&A box down there at the bottom of your toolbar, and you can submit it there. Of course, the chat room is also open. If you have any questions or comments directly, you can send things directly to John or myself. Also, let us know if something messes up, you can't see or hear anything during the presentation. So some of you might be familiar with this, but just to fill you guys in, we work in many sectors: public works, facilities, land records, utilities, transportation, engineering, even cemeteries using GIS. And as a trusted Esri business partner, we help people drive intelligent decision-making using mapping technology. And one of those technologies, of course, is ArcGIS Indoors, helping you maintain your organization while also putting your best foot forward with the people that visit your facilities. And with that, I will turn the screen over to John.
Okay, thanks, Bill. All right, so I wanted to start by explaining a little bit more about GIS. What is GIS? Geographic Information Systems, and how can it be beneficial for facilities and campuses? So GIS is a way, traditionally, we're used to having a system of record for our buildings. A system of record would typically be CAD files. However, what GIS really does for us is it brings in not only a system of record, but also a system of engagement where you can now interact with your data in a visual way. So you've got the graphic representation like you would see with CAD files, but you also interact with maybe a work order system, kiosks, dashboards, and then of course interaction on the mobile apps. And we'll show you a little bit of all these today here. So one of the things, just some highlights of it, like I mentioned, visualizing location of work orders for facility management, space management for usable space analysis. Those interactive maps, of course, those do require what we call an IPS, that's an indoor positioning system. And that basically is what puts your blue dot on the map when you're familiar with using Google Maps. The beauty of it is with an IPS, indoor positioning system, we can then take that internally into our buildings. Any life safety information can also be retrieved from this type of system. So for emergency responders, maybe fire departments are rolling up on the building, and they need to know where different fire connections or systems are at, connection systems. They can do that as well. Real-time monitoring feeds you can also utilize with interactive GIS for campuses and facilities, where you can pull in monitoring feeds that might be live cameras, that could also be sensors on equipment. If alarms, things like that, you can tie into here with where they have a spatial component that you can visualize. The other nice thing is you can maintain a single source of as-built. A lot of people, their biggest challenge is organizing their CAD drawings and their as-built. That can be a real challenge. And so this gives you a central place to keep all that and refer to those, what we call attachments. And then, of course, we can integrate across multiple facilities to get an entire campus in an interactive method. So what we're going to talk about today specifically is ArcGIS Indoors. What I'm going to show you is from Esri. We are an Esri business partner, so we build mapping applications on Esri's ArcGIS platform. And they have a fairly new product, ArcGIS Indoors, which, as I mentioned, it's that system of engagement. So it starts with some sort of spatial data. If you have floor plans, whether they're in CAD form or if they're just in blueprint, hard copies, we can work with all of those. And then a system of record has your facility information. So there's gobs of information we want to try to capture in the system, then you can interact with it in a user-friendly format. The different methods, again, web apps, kiosks, operations dashboards, and the mobile apps. So the first thing too, if say you don't have any CAD files or your CAD files are so outdated, you say, John, it's not even worth messing with these. Well, what we've done and we can do is go into a building and we can do a 3D scan. And many of you are probably familiar with the terrestrial scanning where you set up a scanner on a tripod and it spins around 360 and it collects millions of points. Well, those are very accurate. They're wonderful for surveying. However, we are more interested in gathering information quickly. We don't need millimeter accuracy for these type of applications. So what we do is use a mobile backpack scanning unit, and it gets us very good accuracies. And I'm going to show you an example of that here in a minute on what that looks like, the results from that point cloud. So the idea is we go through, capture the data using a scanning tool, and then we take that LiDAR data from that and we
Looks like we're losing your audio, John. Oh, hold on a second, John. We're losing your audio there. Looks like
must be a
there we go.
Issue. Is that better?
Sounds better now. Yep.
Okay. Must be a connection issue. Okay, so setting up so we can extract those features, whether that's HVAC components, whatever that is. Once you go in there and gather this scan data, you can get those needs. So some of the examples here, we'll kind of show you the back end on how we create these, and we can kind of go from there. So what I want to show next, I'm going to go ahead and show what the results of these scans look like. So here I'm looking at a building. This is actually a mausoleum. So here's the offices over here on the left. And this is from scan data where we walked through with a backpack unit. And these white spaces, these are where the crypts are located. We're just walking through the hallways here, which is remaining to this. But if we kind of turn this at an angle, you see three-dimensional. Very accurate. The middle here is basically our go. Next, I'd like to go ahead and show how do we do this? How do we make this work on the back end? What is all involved with this? So we take that either scan data or CAD files, and this is kind of what it looks like when we start off. It's very basic. We might just have some lines, just some line work that we interact with. And what we do is we take that, let me turn these up. Look at the ends. I'm going to we give each one of them an assignment. It has a number, and that's stuff we can grab from the CAD data as well. But this is the start of building our interactive map. A common thing that we have to do as well is we have to georeference, is what we call georeference this information. So I've got to slide this CAD drawing typically, or stretch it. If it is CAD data, I've got to stretch it to fit exactly over top of my building. So in this case, you can see the roof of our building. This is some drone imagery we're referencing here in the background, but I have to do that geoprocessing first. Then the next step, after we go through that and kind of get our floor plans, we have what we call pathways. And these pathways represent the walking or navigation network. You can see here, it just looks like a bunch of cross patterns kind of all over the place. But this is a key component in building the interactivity for routing. So what you're going to see with this example is here's the lobby, 109 here. And then we're going to interact with any of these rooms or crypts throughout the whole mausoleum, and it'll navigate directly to those. And we can do the same thing with people, with equipment, any asset that you want to track within your building. It would be able to route or navigate through here. So that's kind of the starting point of what we would start with there. Then with this route, keep in mind, we're working in 3D here. So the example, what I've got here is this is only the route network. Let me trim this down a little. So what I'm looking at here, this is the 3 levels inside of this mausoleum. It's got a basement, the main level, and then the top level. And all I'm showing here is basically the pathways on which somebody would walk. I have all my other layers turned off. But what you see here in orange, this is an actual route. This is a route example. So when I have some tools in here in this GIS software and I click run the route, wherever I have point 1 and 2, it's going to navigate along these pathways and find those. And then in this case, of course, it's going out to the cemetery as well. I've got 3 stops involved with this one. We'll show you more examples from that. But just kind of wanted to show you the backbones of this and kind of the skeleton of the routing network. So after we have the route network in place, this is where it comes to building the map in a user-friendly format. We've got what we call points of interest here. These points of interest in this case, they include crypts, graves, and niches. And all of this is either in the mausoleum or out in the cemetery yard. And I have my layers controlled. As I zoom in, those layers will turn on. I also have safety and security layers. I got my sprinkler heads in here. And as Bill pointed out to me, one of the things we were just discussing recently is you can have all of your utilities in this same type of map. So I could actually map out my water lines going to my sprinkler heads, as well as electrical, HVAC. Any of these systems can be drawn out in a high level of detail. If you've got BIM data for it, it can easily be brought into here and utilized in your interactive maps. So here I've just got places and things as well. We've got some items called out here throughout the mausoleum example. So next, I want to show another example. This is a local nursing home we've worked with. And basically, similar type of setup. In this case, they did have CAD files. So we took their CAD data and brought that in here. Let me shrink some of this down. So we started with CAD information for this particular site. And with that, we brought it in, we geo-referenced it. Again, we got it in the correct orientation. Then we copied the point data from the labels for like the rooms and whatnot. And we're able to put that into our interactive system as well. Then what you saw here a minute ago, and I'll turn that back on, this is the trimmed down network of routes that you can take on there. So that's what gives us our routing network when we go to do the navigation. Here's a 3D view of the same data we just saw. So in this case, we've got that same facility, and this is a campus-wide facility. This particular nursing home has different, they have the main campus here, then they have an attached assisted living, and then they've got additional duplexes surrounding their home there. So this one, just this 3D view can also be used in our navigation, including our mobile apps as well. And then lastly, we utilize the main map here to do our publishing that will build it into our final product. So at this point, I'd like to move on and show you what that final product looks like and kind of show what the end results are. Okay, so this is our cemetery example that we showed. We have let's say we're on a kiosk here, maybe we're in the lobby. So we've got this located here where the users could come in and interact with this in a user-friendly fashion like a visitor map. And let's say I could search for anything here. Let's say in this case, I want to look for Lois Bettelheim. And what it's going to do is it's going to show me her burial location. Again, giving you the idea that you can do any thing like this across a campus. If I want directions there to where Lois is located, I can have that information here, and I can pull up anything I need to. Over here on the right, I've got details about Lois, the history. I could attach obituaries. If this was an asset or infrastructure, I could have a reference to PDF plans over here. So just an example there of how we can do that in an easy fashion. Another option I have is to explore. I can explore different features here. If I want to explore additional memorials, I can, let's say I want to look at the niches, and I've got one in particular that I'm interested in. Again, this could be any asset you have in your facility, and you can interact with that in a user-friendly fashion. I'm going to select one of these and again get directions. So routing directions, if I'm on level 1, it's going to give me turn-by-turn directions on where I'm needing to go to. This is taking me to the elevator. Then once I'm on level 2, it's going to highlight that level, and it'll take me directly to my destination there. So very user-friendly, and this can all be done on a mobile device as well with the directions and the routing. Let's say I'm more of a fire department, or I'm interested in safety and security. In this case, let's say I wanted to explore our cameras and I wanted to know what's going on around our facility. It can also interact with cameras on the exterior of our building. So here I've got a camera. I just want to view that live feed of that camera, and that can pull up my live feed right there showing the exterior of my building. So you can see how it's a centralized location for all sorts of information on your facility. Next, I want to explore if we have another idea on directions, just to give you a feel for how we can search for any feature or any asset. Let's say I wanted to navigate out to the yard again, and maybe I wanted to do additional stops. In this case, I wanted to stop at David, and then I also wanted to go on to Florence, and then it will then calculate those directions according to stops. And again, that's all turn-by-turn directions. This can be campus-wide, so it can go from building to building and in and out of buildings as well, anywhere on an entire campus, providing that user-friendly interface for you. And then in this case too, we also can track events. So if I've got an events tab here. In this case, I want to see what do I got going on this month. Looks like I have a couple funerals, and in this case, if I want to find where that's at, maybe I'm trying to send a contractor or someone to set up for the funeral or the vault, and I want to be able to say, here's a link, here's how you get there. That contractor would then have turn-by-turn directions directly to that location, and something they can easily look at. And on a mobile device too, by the way, these directions are voice operable. So they're for impaired hearing, or for vision impaired people that can be able to utilize this as well with voice turn-by-turn directions. So, okay, I wanted to show you then our other example. That's kind of it for the cemetery and mausoleum example. This one here would be the nursing home facility we looked at earlier. So if I, again, use your imagination here as you go to explore, I could have any categories here if I wanted. I could have plumbing, I could have HVAC, anything regarding facility management, people, anybody who works there. In this case, I'm going to explore, got a couple people there. One, I'm going to click on their name, navigate to. It'll pull up their contact information as well. And again, let's say I needed directions on that location, and I could easily, again, pick on, in this case, I could select anywhere on the map and get those turn-by-turn directions as well. So very user-friendly and easy to get to there. If I wanted to, let's say I needed to find an elevator, I could look here, explore those, and I see I've got an elevator here on the second floor of the Country View Assisted Living. And again, I could get turn-by-turn directions there as well. So there's a lot of items you can interact with here. If this was, this is the valuable part over here, is where you can pull up information on any asset in your entire facility. Then, in this case, I've got a website that's taking me to their website. But this could be, imagine, this could be user manuals, manufacturer websites, equipment, contractor information, anything you can link here and keep for your facility for any asset throughout that facility. So again, very user-friendly way to experience that. So now I'm going to turn it over to Bill. He's going to show how exactly this would look if you had it on the mobile device and we're using what we call the blue dot for navigation. So Bill?
Yep. So we had in our previous Indoors presentation, we had one of the solution engineers from Esri was able to join in and go over some of this stuff. He unfortunately was not able to join today, but he did send me a clip here demonstrating their indoor positioning system. So you can see how mobile application here is able to track him, especially as he's going floor to floor. So he's able to use this for routing. He's able to use this for wayfinding, of course, looking for a specific conference room. So here he's going to search for the closest exit. Say he needs to get out of the building, get back to his car, looking for the closest exit here. Nice thing about this is you can even save points of interest or save offices for future reference. If it's a place that you use often, you can even share that with someone as well, especially if you, like John mentioned, a contractor or something coming onto the campus. Use it there, of course, as wayfinding for tie it to your calendar. So he's got a meeting there coming up, so he can tie that to his calendar as well, give him directions and alerts, and then they even have seating there for the event. So just a very handy tool for anybody that comes onto your campus. Of course, do protect your privacy, so it is something where you can turn on or off the device's location for the tracking. But that's just one example of how the indoor positioning system can really be used by anybody that comes onto your campus, whether it's employees or contractors or people that live there. Again, in the case of the example that we had, like with the nursing home there. So just a nice way that indoor positioning can help boost the use of your indoors.
Thank you, Bill. So one of the things just we want to encourage you to do is, in this case, we're just showing you a couple examples, but the sky is the limit on how many different things you can utilize this system for. It's very, very customizable, very flexible. We're showing you a couple, industry-specific examples. I know not all of you are necessarily with a cemetery or a mausoleum or with a nursing home, but there's just a broad variety of different industries that can really benefit from this type of system. And it's not just a wayfinding or a routing system. It's more of a centralized interactive data store where you have, like I said, a system of record and a system of engagement all tied together. Like I mentioned earlier with the sensors, if you have alarms or sensors throughout your campus or facility, that you can have it so those will light up on your map and you can easily interact with those and see what's going on. So it's just a great way to engage from a facility management standpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and just share one last screen here. We had planned on this. We're going to get you out of here a little early, but I know nobody will complain about that. But before we wrap up, I just wanted to finish with kind of talking a little bit about our services. And then, as Bill mentioned earlier, we'll open it up to questions here at the end. You can put those into the chat box, and we'll address those. So we offer a on-site evaluation. We can come on site, meet with you, give you kind of a run through of just looking at your facility, giving you some answers, recommendations on how this would be a good fit, if it's a good fit for you or not. Just discussing those different examples of how you might be able to benefit from it. And then, of course, we offer full implementation, and this is a pretty heavy implementation process. This system you're seeing here, it does require some extensive hardware and software. You do need a server to run this. It's definitely something we would help you set up and implement. We can do training if you have IT or GIS staff. Maybe they want to maintain the maps. We can certainly do that. Come on site and do training for them. Data curation workshops, that's where we can teach folks how to update and edit floor plan information. We can certainly offer those services to you on site. And then we also can provide any type of, if you say, hey, my IT department is already booked solid, we just want this to be hosted, we can certainly host that for you in a cloud hosted environment where we manage that for you. And then lastly, our managed services. That's where we provide a complete turnkey solution. We will not only implement the system for you, but then we would also update your floor plans and your facilities as needed. As you reach out to us and, hey, we've got a new floor plan for this building, we had some changes on the third level, we would come in and actually make those spatial updates and update your database for you under the managed services terms. So a lot, these are big projects to take on. They're certainly not cheap, but you can see there's huge ROI, huge benefits from those, being able to utilize it. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple questions in here, John. First one, what indoor mapping sensor are you using?
So the indoor mapping sensor, I'm assuming they're referring to the data collection for the scanning. In that case, there's two options out there I recommend. One that we've used is the Zeb Revo, which is it's made by GeoSlam is the company that makes that one. And they have a new product out called the Zeb Horizon that's got a lot more point density and can make a lot more detailed collection. So GeoSlam is one product. Another one is by Leica. They're a surveying manufacturer of surveying equipment. Leica has a system called the Pegasus, and that's a backpack unit as well. These systems will typically run you in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $60,000, just kind of give you a rough idea on what the pricing would be on those. But they use what's called SLAM technology, so you're able to walk through the building and it's collecting all your scan data in real time as you walk through it. You don't have to have multiple setups like you would with a traditional survey environment.
All right, good. Let's see, we got another one here. What does this work if we have buildings across town from each other?
Absolutely. So what you would do in that case, if your buildings are across town from each other, you're probably not going to need to show directions from one building to the other. Now, maybe you would. It's definitely, it's very possible. You can use this system to navigate all the way across town, but I probably would recommend just focusing on having that interaction. So yes, the you would have, and I didn't point this out. I apologize. You can easily navigate between your buildings with the drop-down menu. So in my example with the nursing home, I could have a drop-down menu and it says main campus or assisted living, or any one of my duplexes that I had on there could easily be in a drop-down. So if your other building was across town, it would just be the same thing. It would be in a drop-down menu. You click on it, it zooms right into your building, and you can see your floor plan right there.
Great, great. Let's see. No other questions at the moment. Guys, if you have anything else, feel free to submit those and we can answer those individually after the webinar. I'm going to go ahead and just share back over to my contact page here. So again, thanks a lot for attending our webinar. Of course, any additional information that's needed, please do not hesitate to get a hold of us. cloudpointgeo.com/indoors for more specific information about our indoor capability. Of course, my contact information there, email bsteele@cloudpointgeo.com, phone number as well. We're all over social media, so go ahead and look us up and follow us there. We'd love to interact with you guys there as well. We have been recording all of our webinars, so once I get this trimmed down a little bit and put up on the YouTube page, you can go to cloudpointgeo.com/recordings and sign up to be able to view the webinar at any time there. But again, thank you all so much for attending. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll leave this page up here for a minute in case you need to copy anything down. Thanks a lot, guys.